Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our latest Lent Reflection. It's quite a long reading again today, but we'll begin with that reading, which completes yesterday's reading as well. Mark 5:21-43. She had heard about Jesus and came up behind him in the crowd and touched his cloak, for she said, "But if I but touch his clothes, I will be made well." Immediately her hemorrhage stopped, and she felt in her body that she was healed of her disease. Immediately aware that power had gone forth from him, Jesus turned about in the crowd and said, "Who touched my clothes?" And his disciples said to him, "You see the crowd pressing in on you. How can you say, 'Who touched me?'" He looked all around to see who had done it. But the woman, knowing what had happened to her, came in fear and trembling, fell down before him and told him the whole truth. He said to her, "Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed of your disease." While he was still speaking, some people came from the teacher's house, of leader's house, saying, "Your daughter is dead. Why trouble the teacher any further?" But overhearing what they said, Jesus said to the leader of the synagogue, "Do not fear, only believe." He allowed no one to follow him except Peter, James and John, the brother of James. And when they came to the house of the leader of the synagogue, he saw a commotion, people weeping and wailing loudly. When he had entered, he said to them, "Why do you make a commotion and weep? The child is not dead, but sleeping." And they laughed at him. Then he put them all outside and took the child's father and mother and those who were with him and went in where the child was. He took her up by the hand and said to her, "Talitha kum," which means, "Little girl, get up." And immediately the girl got up and began to walk about as she was 12 years old. At this they were overcome with amazement. He strictly ordered them that no one should know this and told them to give her something to eat. I'm always busy, too busy. Friends have pointed out that when I'm not required to be busy, I add things to my life so that I become busy again. Unfortunately, this means I can be impatient and with interruptions. The phone rings, someone wants to speak to me, and inwardly I feel irritated that I'm being prevented from getting on with my work. Instead, perhaps I need to recognize that this conversation is the work that God has for me right now. We can hardly imagine the tension in Jairus as Jesus, instead of going to his house to heal his daughter as quickly as possible, stops to engage with the suffering woman. But Jesus won't be rushed, because he will be interrupted. There are 2 miracles that day instead of 1. Lord, I'm sorry that sometimes I'm too much in a hurry to stop and pay attention to a person you bring before me. Please help me to allow myself to be interrupted by others and by you. Amen. This week, action for the week. This week, pay attention to how you communicate with people. What difference does it make to try to apply these communication lessons from Jesus? Write down what you notice in your notebook or journal. God bless you.